hope our listeners get about the empowering steps.
What is one misconception about downsizing?
At the end of the day, simplification is the way to go.
Welcome to the Empowered Elder Podcast.
Today on the Empowered Elder Podcast, we're joined by Margaret Sunderland, founder and principal designer of Sunderland Designs, a full-service interior design studio rooted in beauty, balance, and thoughtful living. More than 11 million older Americans are spending a big share of their income, over 30%, just on housing. At the same time, studies show that over half of the people age 50 and older have thought about downsizing or have already moved to a smaller home. But there's another side to the story. 1 in 3 baby boomers who own a home say they have no plans to sell. That means older adults are putting off or even avoiding the downsizing process altogether.
With more than 25 years of design and staging experience across Australia, Connecticut, Texas, and now Colorado, Margaret brings a refined global perspective to her work, helping seniors right-size their homes, reduce stress, and create spaces that support healthy aging. Her philosophy, it blends craftsmanship, color, harmony, and even a touch of feng shui, all centered on helping people live simply, beautifully, and with intention. And her own recent move from Dallas to Colorado, done for love, family, and 2 adorable grandbabies, gave her a deeply personal understanding of letting go, choosing what matters, and creating a home that aligns with your next chapter.
All right, Margaret, your design work has taken you across Australia, Connecticut, Texas, and now Colorado. What first sparked your love for creating homes that are elegant, comfortable, and clutter-free?
My husband and I, we lived in an apartment in New York, and we had so much fun just decorating it and all that sort of thing. And I've always been a creative. So I took every room and made it just very clean and very decluttered, but it had its own sort of funky, transitional sort of style. And then when we went to sell the apartment, there was an attorney who was looking at the apartments that we were in. We were in a place called Hartsdale, New York. He fell in love with our apartment and all our furniture, and we sold the apartment in 1 hour.
Wow.
That's impressive.
That's really impressive.
And the furniture that we waited for 13 months, he took it all. So, of course, my husband and I were like, wow, so much preparation. We had a little bit of enjoyment in the place, but at the end of the day, these furnishings we thought that we were going to take with us forever. And all of a sudden, not so much the case. So letting go, I realized, was a huge part of life and of understanding that transitions happen. Aging happens. Letting go happens. You can't take the pieces of furniture with you because you don't know what the next place that you're going to be in is going to bring. We went from an apartment to renting. And so those furnishings that we had in New York that were actually fairly contemporary were just not going to work. So at the end of the day, we made the right decision.
Would you say that that was your first experience of understanding that maybe less is more?
Absolutely. I think it's grounded in that. And then having moved a couple of times, because then we left New York and we went to Connecticut. Of course, the style is more traditional. We went from contemporary to traditional. We were also renting, so the spaces were smaller. So we had to figure out what was going to work for our lifestyle, and we had to start all over again.
It seemed like that was such an emotional life transition for you. Is that kind of how it pivots into how you feel so deeply for supporting older adults during their emotional life transitions?
I think every transition that I've ever made, even the transition of falling in love with my husband, him proposing in Australia, and leaving my brand new apartment that I had decorated then, I mean, you can't take furniture, especially on a minimal budget, 10,000 miles away. So you've just got to let it go. and go with what your heart is going to tell you to do. So less is more is and has been a mantra of mine for many years. And of course, that's going to help others going forward. So I found that in my staging opportunities, especially with some older folks, it's hard to let go of memories. And so it's wonderful to have a compassionate heart, which I bring to every meeting with clients, and to tell them that it's just going to be so much easier for them to bring joy to themselves ongoing when they simplify.
You told us a story the other day about letting go of a big piece of furniture in your place when you moved to Colorado. Tell our listeners that story because it really makes an impact.
It made an impact on my husband, definitely. Having experienced so many moves, I've done at least half a dozen, maybe more. That piece of furniture was almost like part of a new beginning because we moved to Texas in 2021. My husband had a great job at that point, but he said, let's buy things that we can appreciate, that we can hand down to our children. And, you know, he's from more of an older generation where when you bought something, you bought quality over quantity. So we picked up this beautiful dining room set that seated 10 quite comfortably, made by Century Furniture. And it was exquisite. And it fit into a beautiful home that we had in South Lake, Texas. We also did a lot of entertaining because we didn't know that many things. It's wonderful to have children in the school system because you meet new people and people with families. So I love the idea of entertaining. And we had a super kitchen, had a fantastic dining room. And of course, my girls were always involved in coming to the table for every meal that we enjoyed guests with. So they learned a little bit of etiquette along the way, but we used that table with love. And so we had to move again in Texas, and then we moved again. So we had 3 moves in Texas. So the piece, every time we moved, we made sure that it was going to fit in different spaces. To cut a long story short, when we moved to Colorado, it'll be a year and a half in December, the place that we chose was chosen because we were going to be across the street and 2 doors down from my daughter and my son-in-law and my little 3-year-old grandbaby. My daughter was pregnant with her second one, and then when we looked at the floor plan online, we were like, oh, gee, we can't take that dining room set. It ain't going to fit. So we just were very disappointed. So we started looking around for different consignment places where we could possibly, get the value back by getting it sold to somebody who could use it wisely. But the consignment places basically told us, A, we don't have room on the shop floor. B, people aren't after those pieces anymore because they're more traditional, not transitional. And the best thing for you to do is put it on Facebook Marketplace. And of course, we were shocked, stunned, and amazed. So that's what we ended up doing. And it was with great emotional turbulence on my husband's part. I feel that I can capture the memories of the moment, having enjoyed so many at that dining room table. But my husband was like, well, we bought quality. We paid such and such a price, which was close to $10,000 for the set. How could we just give it away on Facebook Marketplace? I'm like, well, it's not going to work, so we're going to have to do something. So at the end of the day, this lady replied. Her and her husband came and got it. And it was just really uniquely special because they said that they were in a historical house in a place called Tyrrell, Texas, where, it was going to fit in their dining room absolutely perfectly. They also said that the original family who discovered Tyrrell, Texas, brought in a specific fern that was very good with heat and humidity. And the fact that I had chosen a fern motif in an ivory for the back, well, the upholstery parts, the seat, the back, etc., on the chairs, just brought tears of emotion to both her and myself. It was just so overwhelming that somebody was going to appreciate this piece of furniture that they were getting for a great price, but they were going to appreciate it, put it in a room that would fit it beautifully, and they were going to entertain their family and friends 24/7. So it was emotionally right That's all I can say. We sold it to them for $500. They sent us videos. They sent us pictures of their family and friends over the next couple of weeks, just enjoying the piece. And it gave me incredible comfort. And I think it helped my husband get through that transition of letting that piece go.
So going through that emotional decision with your family and seeing the joy on someone else's, face and their experience, how does that help you with your clients and their navigation of the same kinds of decisions? How does that help them through that?
It's all about releasing those memories in a positive way. What I bring is a compassionate heart and experience and expertise in helping my clients downsize, boxing the memories possibly on, a stick on their computers so they can have those photo memories if they need it. And they can print their favorites, those pieces and those times that, they had either sitting at a dining room table or sitting at a sofa that might be a camelback sofa that is very ornate and very beautiful that they had in a Victorian setting type house. I mean, at the end of the day, some of these things aren't going to be realistic to bring. So they just have to contain their memories in a way that is more efficient going forward. Once you release those pieces that hold you down, it's like opening a window, because what you can do is you can design your new space so it's easy to get around, it's uncluttered, it's simple, and you can orchestrate family members to come into your new space and make new memories and bring you joy. So it's releasing those things that have been important ongoing in your life that have possibly been wonderful at the time, but simplifying to let go and just saying possibly others will get beneficial value from these pieces. But at the end of the day, I know living in a more simplified design space that can help me as I age, where I can age in place without the clutter, without the, huge pieces of furniture that weren't going to work in my space. I think that's the most important positive take that I bring my clients.
And when you're meeting with your clients and in your experience, what are you finding is their biggest fear, or maybe something that is their biggest question when they're facing some major downsizing decisions and transitions?
It's extraordinary what we try to take with us when we're transferring from one space to the other. It can be simple, possibly it's not a piece of furniture, possibly it's grandmom's china that they're taking with them. But what I say to them is, when was the last time you used it?
Right.
When was the last time you had a cup of tea with your grandmother's china and you brought it out with biscuits and cakes? And are you going to do that in the future? And a lot of the time, when people are older, they don't have the inclination or the energy to perform the acts of, bringing out the best china. So, what can you take with you that will bring you a memory, but also won't hurt you ongoing? What can be the best and healthiest choice going forward? So when you put things in that perspective, it can help them say, well, because I haven't used it, maybe I can release it. Maybe I can just bring the cups and saucers and a plate for, some tea cakes. Maybe I don't have to bring the whole 12-piece setting with me. So that's something to consider. You have to gently level with people who are letting go and have to let go. They've only got so much size to move into with regard to size of space. They've only got so many cabinets that they can utilize. You've got to use the things that you use every day. It has to be an everyday joy. It has to be an everyday occurrence. And when you put that down, then you can forecast a plan for them. Okay, if you're going to use it, take it. If you're not going to use it, let's reconsider and possibly put it on Facebook Marketplace. At the end of the day, my children weren't going to take that dining room set. That wasn't their style or taste. At the end of the day, is grandmother's china going to be used by your grandchild? Possibly not. So it's called understanding and releasing and knowing that at the end of the day, less is more.
So when someone is thinking about downsizing, right sizing, transition, whatever, and say, I've lived in my house 30, 40, 50, 60 years, what's an empowering first step that they can take in order to start that release and letting go process? What's that first step?
Well, sometimes it's good to have a plan. And I think this gets back to if you really, really love it and you're really going to use it, then let's consider it. When I go to my clients' homes, I also bring some painter's tape. And at each point, I ask them, are you going to use this piece? Is it going to be important and impactful in your new space? And if it is, we put a piece of blue tape on it. If it's not going to be, then it's going to go out. Or vice versa. If you don't want to keep it, then, the blue tape. If you do, let's put it in the pile that you do. People have to consider what the new space is going to be. When you're going to downsize, you could be going from 5,000 square feet to 1,900 square feet. How is that going to affect what you bring with you? Sometimes, when you're making this emotional decision to sell your home, you don't consider that. I bring that to the table. It's one of the first questions I ask. With the new space, what can you bring with you?
Now, it's not always a new space. Sometimes it's, our population wants to age in place and stay where they are.
Mm-hmm.
So it's getting the mindset around, okay, how can I make my living situation better?
Right.
So how does the lesson is more message really translate to the healthy environment creation for staying where you are, but enjoying your space better?
Right. A decluttered space brings peace of mind. Aging in place has many benefits, but if you design it right, it can be incredibly beneficial. I've had some clients where I've redone their kitchen and bathrooms. They're like, Margaret, I'm sick and tired of cupboards. I need something that I can pull out. That's something that happens when you're older. You don't want to kneel down and open the cupboard space and then try to find what's at the back. You need a drawer that you can pull out and you can get things and assess things easily. So that's an interesting point in staging in place. Redesign your cabinet space so it works more efficiently for you. When you're getting older, you also need lighting. I believe that toe kick lighting is incredibly important because if you're, waking up several times during the night, especially when you're a little older, going out to the kitchen, possibly for a glass of water or what have you, having lighting that's motion detected and can go on when it detects your movement in the kitchen so you can see the space is very handy. Another great thing to age in space is grab bars. Grab bars in the bathroom. In the toilet area, consider a comfort height toilet with a grab bar so you can get up in case you have something like a knee surgery or a hip replacement. That's also very important. Also, you need something in the shower, possibly an additional grab bar, possibly a built-in seat. The other thing is maybe a handheld in case you've had surgery and you have to be very, very careful not to wet, the wound or the opening in your, procedure. So all of those little things can be helpful tricks to increase the design space when you age in place.
Yeah, I loved you said staging in place. And I love that because it's staging the place for aging in place.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's so many incredible things that design has helped with. The other thing you should consider is less area rugs because area rugs are a tripping hazard. So consider non-slip floors. You can't have something that's super, super shiny. I remember I had this couple. He was a little older. He was probably in his 70s, but she was younger. And they were like, Margaret, I don't care about non-slip. I just want polished marble through my whole entire house. I'm like, well, that could be hazardous. I did say something, but at the end of the day, they're the ones paying for the polished marble. So you can suggest to people, but at the end of the day, it's up to them. Also, when you're aging in place, you also have to consider stairs. Are you going to be able to accomplish the stairs? Is there a rail for you to get up and down? Do you need to install a rail? I believe you were mentioning to me the other day that you had a rail installed in your client's house. That's incredibly important. Do you need a chairlift? Do you need an elevator? I had an older couple that I did design their house in Possum Kingdom in Texas, but they also had a house in Virginia. In the Possum Kingdom house, we want an elevator. We want an elevator. So they had an elevator put in. So they had elevators put in 3 residences that they had. It's all about taking the luggage up, or it's all about making sure that if you have a health ailment and knee replacement, or again, a hip replacement, you can get up and down. That's so crucially important, considering your space and making sure that you have something like that available.
And I love the fact that you have been staging homes for over 25 years. And if someone is not going to age in place and they are looking to sell their homes, what can you say is how does staging make the entire process just feel a little bit lighter and just feel like that's the right thing to do? How do you have that conversation? What does that look like?
Sometimes it's all about the psychology of the person. Nicole, I appreciate that question because you learn every time you do a staging how to approach the individual. Some are, do I really have to do this? And I'm like, well, if you really want to sell your home, you have to. So, but what staging in place or staging to make a decision to downsize brings is a little less, because you can plan things out, and having that insight to plan, I think, is really extraordinary. In a room, if you have well-placed settings and you have plenty of traffic paths that allow for at least 4 feet, because at the end of the day, when you're aging, you could be in a wheelchair. You have to make sure that the traffic paths are more open. And having that more open flow is so crucial, especially if you're in a wheelchair, but it's also nice on the aesthetic of the home. Also, do you need all the clutter that you had in your original home? Because with more clutter comes more dusting and more work for you or the person that you employ to clean your home. So you have to look at what's cost effective. You have to look at how the aesthetic of the home can be staged so it looks clean, airy, light, and maneuverable in case you had a setback that puts you in a wheelchair.
That's when you're doing a big move, a senior's doing a big move. That's that initial detachment. I know that it makes it a little bit easier if you're going into a different space, but why is it so important you're going to beginning a new chapter to detach from the items that are in your home? How do you talk through that with your clients?
I remind myself that, every little piece for some of my clients can be a living memory. So best thing to do is either take a photo of that memory or that piece. Like I remember meeting 2 elderly clients and I had to help them pack up their dishes and their plates and their bits and pieces. And I said, it can either stay in a box or you could either use it. It's your choice. But at the end of the day, you have to figure out whether you want to take it with you or not. If you don't want to take it, take a photo.
I love that concept.
And taking a photo, you can put it in an album and you can name the album, my mother's china, my mother's dining room table. It can be anything that has created so much joy in the past. But when you let that joy, you compartmentalize that joy by putting it in a photo, by putting it in an album, and then you move on. There's also joy made in new memories. So your new space can still have memories, but it'll be new ones. And then you can always refer to the old.
I bet you have tons of photos of your family around the dining room table that you can compile and put them together in a binder or a folder.
Absolutely. I just wish I remembered some of the recipes.
That's fantastic.
It's having the energy, because I think as we get older, we only have so much energy and time is so fleeting. And so, you can put time in a bottle by putting, photos in an album, and then you can seize each day by creating joy in this time and in this present moment.
That's special.
You have such a strong background in staging and interior design, and that kind of realm within the real estate arena. What are some of the common mistakes that you see homeowners making when preparing to sell, especially older adults? And how does staging help kind of combat that?
Well, I think it comes back to, you know, some homes for resale aren't staged at all, and you walk in and the space will never sell because there's so much clutter. So, you've got to pack it up. You've got to release it. You've got to move forward, because when you list your house, what are you doing? You're deciding to change one home to go to the next. So having a plan in play, I think I've learned that going forward with regard to a lot of clients through my experience. We had a plan in play when we moved here to Castle Rock. We couldn't fit several pieces of furniture. So at the end of the day, it was like, I can only fit one. And then the types of furniture that I chose to put in my new space are a lot smaller in scale. At the end of the day, too, I feel that I don't need anything else. I've arranged the traffic paths. I've arranged what is necessary for my husband and I. And I think I can offer that to my clients, because at the end of the day, you don't need so much. We are such a society of stuff. And it's really a shame, because what that stuff does is it holds us back. I had one client who had a hoarding situation. And the reason she had that hoarding situation is because she really needed therapy. And her husband was so difficult to live with that at the end of the day, they ended up getting divorced, and she had to get rid of the hoarding boxes and everything else like that anyway, because she couldn't take them with her in her next place. So, these are real hard life lessons that people go through. Moving is a hard life lesson, and especially when you're older. Just the extraordinary boxing up and packing, and then going to a new place, and then unpacking and trying to figure out, where is this going to go? So if you make it easier on yourself with a plan, and you start when you're just about ready to sell, packing those things up or releasing those things can make the next journey in your chapter so much easier to accomplish.
That's a great transition, because I wanted to talk a little bit about designing for healthy aging and looking at that next chapter. So when you're meeting with a client who is going through a transition to a smaller yet safer place, what's the first step, or how do you look to create a home that it still feels personal, it still feels peaceful, and in addition, it's going to support the lifestyle that they want to live in this new space?
Right. Well, you have to look at the age of the client. You have to look at the next space that they're going to. You also have to look at some of the creature comforts that they want to bring with them. That can be an amazingly beautiful collage of family photos. It can be making sure that they have that connection with their family when they move into the new space, that they're not far away from their family. Because at the end of the day, when you're older, what you need more than anything in the world is love. So I think if they're surrounded by their family when they downsize, that can be of great beneficial benefit. The other things to make the space cozy is making sure that they have some of their favorite things, whether it be, maybe they can use some fabrics, or something that reminds them of their old place, and they can also restore in their new place, but they can keep it more simplified. They don't have to be as ornate with, perhaps like in their old house, they had swags and jabots. In their new house, maybe simple panels, but they have their favorite colors in those panels of drapery versus the heavy, ornate fabrics that they had in their old abodes. So, little things like that. You can soften some of the blow with, some of their creature comforts. You can get into their favorite color tones. You can get into their favorite, upholstery fabrics in their choice of color tone, or again, fabrics that they're going to put on their windows, but into more of a format that's a little less versus something as ornate as possible that they had before. So similar things like that. Maybe photos of their family around, if they're not close to their family. But I think, anything that sparks their comfort, anything that they feel is good. Maybe they have a shag rug that they've always enjoyed, so they can bring that into the space. And then maybe pillows to match that. So with design, once you get into the psyche of the customer that you're dealing with, you can offer them a plan, constructive plan moving forward.
I heard you mention colors a lot in the last piece. And when you speak about colors, because I know you specialize in color harmony, can you kind of elaborate on that and what that means?
Sure. I think color plays an important role in making us happy. A lot of designer homes or show homes that you go to, let's see, have a lot of color in them. But when you go to build a house and you look at what the builder's bringing into some of the homes for show and how the homes can be accessorized and what have you, it's a lot more neutral color. A lot of people have favorite colors, like they wear them. Like I know for a fact that Tasha's favorite color is teal.
I don't know what would give you that idea.
I don't know where you got that from.
She wears it beautifully, guys.
Thank you.
Always. She wears it beautifully. Between the accessories and, her sweater, she's just glammed out. And you know what? I'm sure in some of the spaces that Tasha has at home, she has that color. So if you genuinely look at an individual and like Margaret, I genuinely really love this color and I'd really like to have it in my home because I know so many homes today are so white or gray. So I offer the choice of possibly bringing harmony into a bedroom by saying, before you move, let's get that one wall painted in your favorite color tone, whether it be an eggplant or whether it be a blue, beautiful navy blue, or whether it be a green. And we can harmonize the space with some of your accessories. And those can also have a drop of color so it enhances the space. So those things, people generate to color. People want to be calmed by certain colors that affect them. When you go into hospitals today, there's a lot of pastel colors on the wall, whether they're pink or that sort of like spearmint green or just a very, very light pale blue. Those colors relax. And when you're moving and getting older and what have you, sometimes enhancing a space with a little color can help soften the trajectory of moving from one space to the other.
Sounds like it helps with that impact, that emotional feeling that they have of making that transition. So having the right color scheme or the right color balance is helpful in those situations.
I think it's crucial, Nicole. Yeah. I think it's crucial. The house that I recently just moved into, the walls, of course, were agreeable gray, but I changed them out to a white. And then I enhanced my rooms with the colors that bring life and love to me. In my main sitting area, I have different color hues of green because I feel moving to Colorado, green's a great color. Plus, it's trending in design right now. So it's been a good choice.
Is there another client story that shows how releasing their belongings and creating their new space can bring joy, freedom, relief, groundedness?
I had a client, he was an attorney also, and his wife, unfortunately, she was having problems with mobility. They needed to make sure that their traffic spaces were at least 4 feet in between different areas. And they wanted to upgrade because their home was built, I believe it was built in like 1997, and they wanted to age in place gracefully. I redid their kitchen. We did under cabinet lighting, motion detectors underneath the lower cabinets. We also lightened up their original Corian countertops with beautiful white quartz, actually. And then we did it like a Carrera, which had white and the gray lines through it on their countertop. Karen liked black, so we did the island in black. She also loved the grays. So she's like, I know I'm getting older, but they seem to soften my senses. And they also look very sophisticated. So we did a collage of different gray fabric on her upholstery, and then kept it very, very simple by changing out the carpet and putting something that was light and gray color tones in the carpet. But we also put in a very dense carpet. We also put in a very dense carpet pad, but we made sure the transition was hardly there between her original kitchen tile and the carpet transition, so it was easy, so they didn't trip. They couldn't have area rugs because she had mobility problems, so this was an easier transition for them. We also decluttered, and I think so they looked out at a very, very beautiful pool and outside setting. So I think that all helped in calming the space. We added additional lighting that was just, it was high polished chrome and glass. And she was like, every morning I'm greeted by the chandelier and all I want to do is turn it on. So, I mean, yeah, I think, they were an older couple and we made some simplifications in their home to make it easy for them to age in place. I hope that answered your question, Tasha.
Yes, and I have a follow-up.
Yes, ma'am.
So in working with the couples and the families in transition, what do they learn about each other and themselves through the process?
Let me go back to Karen. She has 2 daughters who have their own young families, and they don't want anything Karen and Bill have. However, they're in close proximity to where they live, so they can visit anytime. Karen has the most beautiful heart, and she is so proud of her beautiful grandbabies. And she has the opportunity to have them over. But how the furniture in their living room is placed is a great opportunity for the kids to play. But Karen has good seating with good support so she can interact with the kids as they're at play. So that's also helpful. I think when you're a little older, you have to realize that what you have today is not going to make any of your family happy ongoing. They're not going to take it with them. I mean, they're not going to be interested in the things that you've cherished and enjoyed. Again, getting back to the point of when we were younger, and I'm a baby boomer, you bought things for quality, not quantity. I think today we buy, our younger millennials and our children buy because they know that they might have to move. So they buy more for convenience, not the quality aspect. So I think we have to just remember, we just have to let go of those things because at the end of the day, they're not as important as family love and family memories made in a new space.
So we've heard someone say before that houses, their walls, and their items are painted with memories. How is the downsizing process emotional, and how does it help create family legacy?
It's incredibly emotional. I think moving is the most emotional thing that you can do besides having a baby and getting married. That's what they say. They say changing homes, and doing getting married and having a baby is the most incredible life-changing. They're the incredible life-changing events. I moved from Australia, and I've got to be honest with you, it wasn't easy. Let's see, but at the end of the day, I did it for love, and we were newly married, so it was easy to let go and start with a lot of joy. However, when we moved from Connecticut to Texas, we were in a small home. We went from like 2,800 square feet to about 50 square feet. And I'm like, where am I going to start? And you'll laugh at this because my favorite room at the time, because we hadn't had furniture, we decided on furniture, but you have to wait for quality and you have to wait for things to arrive. So my favorite room was my pantry. I used to sit in there and I was just electrified by all the colors, and it was a great place to cry before anyone found out I was a little bit emotional.
So
Great space.
is that why you like gardening so much, because of the colors, or because
Yes,
really like to garden?
I do.
And how did that change in your transition of homes and locations and Australia to Texas to Colorado?
Right.
How was all that?
Well, you know what? I think different climates, you have to start again. You have to figure it all out, girl. And in this move, we went from an amazing perennial garden with a 45-foot cypress that we planted when it was 12 foot to, and with humidity and, of course, sprinklers, everything's lush and green. And then we moved to Colorado. And that was the first time I heard the word xeriscape. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's xeriscape? Anyway, so it was a rude awakening. So I think, people who love their gardens love color, because over the last year, I put in, a beautiful perennial garden that'll come up every year. I've tried to put in some evergreens also. I joined the garden club. I'm now the secretary of the Douglas County Garden Club. So for me, color is important, and color in nature is crucial. We had the opportunity to go to one of the national parks here in Colorado and see the aspens and the unbelievable yellow, amber, and red color tones that just come out of Mother Nature's palette. I mean, you can't really put that in your own home, but you can add color to enhance. Yellow is the color of creativity. When I first moved to Texas, I painted the kitchen yellow. But also red is also passion and also is a great color with regard to food. So then, because Tuscan style and design was in, and we had a fairly textured, heavy textured surface, script trowel on the walls, I went into rubbing on raw umber to the yellow color tone with a little bit of red base. And it was a great place to eat dinner and make more memories with my family. And people were like, wow, we love this. So I ended up doing it for several other kitchens, for several other clients.
I love how your energy level just came up with the idea of the color and the gardening and bringing that into your living situation and translating that to your clients and all of that. There is this misnomer that's out in the community that working with an interior designer is only for the luxury and it doesn't apply to me. How do you counter that kind of statement and argument when it comes to sharing your passion?
In Texas, it was a lot easier because people had used me as a great referral base because I did so much through different real estate agents I had worked with in staging homes. And I'd go in there and I'd bring my subcontractors and I'd change the space so it was more turnkey. And then my clients were like, Margaret, I wish we would have done this 10 years ago. I'm like, well, style and fashion change, but now at least you can see the space clear and elegant and enjoyable. And then, of course, you have a positive sale. Ongoing, I think here in Colorado, we can, as an interior designer, I can come up with a plan that saves you time, stress, and money. Because when I take you down to the design center, I mean, I can get things at cost, charge a small commission, and then you have a custom designer piece that you didn't even pay retail for. Sometimes also, DIYers can make absolutely horrendous mistakes ongoing. Being in the contractor interior design space, I know so much. I ran into somebody the other day who had leaks in their showers. The shower pan wasn't put in properly. There was no membrane. Things were leaking and coming apart, and there was mold forming. You don't want that. I know people here now in Colorado that can help you with regard to mold restoration. But when you do a job, you have to do it right. And that's what interior designers bring to the table. They know what's per code. They know what is the process to get this through. They have subcontractors that they work with that are known and trusted, that aren't going to make the mistakes that a DIYer would do. So I feel as an interior designer, I can save you time, stress, and money. I'm the project manager. I take that level of stress completely away by reassuring you every day that what you want, what you will get.
Okay, we're going to let you rewrite the script here a little bit. So if you can tell us, what is one misconception about downsizing that you wish you could scratch out what people are thinking and then rewrite the script on that from a standpoint of the perks of downsizing, or what does it look like?
Let's cut to the chase. Downsizing, once you learn to release and contain those positive memories in a productive way, gives joy and simplification, less stress, peace of mind, knowing that you can stay where you are right now and you don't have to go anywhere again, that possibly you've got family close by. Maybe they're closer than they were before. Maybe it also means that when you walk around your home, it's more elegant because it's more simplified. It's more cozy because it's not as cluttered. It's less stressful because your eye goes to every little thing and the eye will either say positive stress or negative stress. So to me, when you downsize, you can simplify. That simplification brings so much joy and so much more comfort at the end of the day because we all lead incredibly stressful lifestyles.
I love that. Joy, less stress. I'm in.
Yeah, right?
Nice work.
Me too, Nicole.
What guidance can you offer maybe the adult children who are wanting to help their parent in creating a calm environment and providing them respect and, patience through the process to really strengthen their love for one another? What kind of guidance can you give them to help them support their elder without taking over?
It's important that as a person who's moving, who's a little older, you have to know that you can't do it by yourself. You really need to have a plan, and it will take family and friends to help you make the move because you might have a situation with your health. You might have a situation with mobility. You might have a situation where the stress of moving is so overwhelming that you can't do it yourself. So you might have to employ your family, or you might have to have your family employ somebody who can help you organize your kitchen drawers so that you can find things, label different cabinets or what have you, so you can help yourself, so you can help your elder in your family find things and locate things. It takes a village. It's not done alone. I think that's so important. I think it's important for the younger people to realize that as their parents get older, there are limitations, and for everything that we do in life, there are some things that are green lighted. It'll all go smoothly, and then there are some things that are setbacks that will need a team to work through those. Sometimes it's a health setback. I know for my husband and I, it wasn't easy to adjust to the mile-high city from sea level. Why don't we have the energy we had in Dallas? Why do we feel so lethargic? Well, that change is really hard. That living, a mile high above sea level at 6,300 feet can make you feel lethargic. So my daughter actually said, what you need to do is you need to take Energy C so you can replace some of that. You need to drink more and more liquid. Water is your friend. So that was a huge, big change. But through that, we were able to accommodate and transition with regard to our health because we knew we needed more liquid in order to accomplish what we needed to accomplish. They were also incredibly amazing because they knew that we needed some help. So my daughter actually was the one that introduced me to the subcontractor that I used to make some modification and changes in this new home. So yes, it takes a village, it takes a team, it takes a plan. Everyone needs to be on the same page as you move forward with that plan.
And if you were going to summarize our entire conversation today, what is the one key takeaway that you hope our listeners get about the empowering steps for downsizing?
I think the word should be simplification. Keeping things simple is really the key. If you bring so many boxes that you're not going to have the opportunity to unpack them in your new space, or you just have to get a storage facility in order to accommodate all the stuff you've brought with you, that's not productive for anyone. That stuff just stays there. Who knows when you're going to get to it? So also simplification in making sure that you employ an interior designer who can make sure that you have the grab bars, the comfort height toilet seat, the toe kick lighting, possibly heaters if you move to a cooler climate in the floor, making sure that you have all those challenges that might happen. You have those design elements that you can gain strength with. So it's simplification of stuff, simplification of the space that you're moving into, and simplification of everyone on your team, from your family to your friends, is going to help you make this move successfully, and having that as a focus to move forward.
I love that.
Yeah, and I love the power of letting go. Like, that's what I've taken away from the conversation, is not only when your families, or if you have a senior who's starting the process, to when they're in the middle and a family is helping, but then the family can take that same sense of letting go to help empower their lives in moving forward, not just for the senior's sake, but for their own as well. And I really, really like that takeaway. Thank you for that.
At the end of the day, simplification is the way to go. And knowing at the end of the day that less is more, because the more you have, the more stressed you'll be.
True.
So let's relieve the stress and let go.
That's right. Easy.
Let's eradicate stress and just let go and keep it simple.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Margaret.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tasha. Thank you, Nicole. I'm here to help in any way. And if your listeners can gain insight from me, that's great. Anything I can do to help?
Fantastic. And we will put all of your contact information in the show notes. So thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Margaret, thank you for sharing not just your expertise today, but your heart. You've reminded us that downsizing isn't about giving things up. It's about giving ourselves freedom, clarity, and room for the next beautiful chapter. Your story about letting go of your dining table, something filled with memories and meaning, was such a powerful reminder that release can also bring joy, not just to us, but to people who receive what we once loved. That's the heart of the entire conversation. Letting go is not losing, it's expanding.
And for everyone listening, whether you're right-sizing your own life or helping a parent prepare for the move, remember what Margaret taught us today. Less can truly be more. A simpler home creates more peace, a clearer space, more confidence, and a thoughtful transition creates more dignity. You don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to do it alone. Start small, start slowly. Start something that creates the life you want to live now.
If this episode offered you comfort, clarity, or courage, please share it with someone who might be feeling overwhelmed by change. You never know whose life you might help lighten. Margaret, thank you again for your wisdom and for your compassion. And to all of our listeners, we're so grateful you're here with us, learning, growing, and empowering the next chapter together.
Until next time, take a deep breath, release what no longer serves you, and remember, you deserve a home and a life that supports who you are becoming. This is the Empowered Elder Podcast. We'll see you next week.